All right, it is Tuesday, January 19th. We're starting to get better news here in 2021, Riggo. We've got the National Guard. It's going to take care of business, make sure we have a safe inauguration, transfer of power, one of the beautiful things about our country here. Maybe there's going to be some transfer of power out at Washington football team practice facility. I don't know what to call it anymore in Ashburn. It looks like a hiring of a new general manager, so here's Riggo.
Thank you, Todd. I don't know which way to start. I think actually the National Guard's a good place to start because I had this, I was watching TV last night, and it's weird because now it's almost like they're bringing the Trojan horse into town. Did you had that thought?
Yeah. Well,
I mean, what I'm hearing commentators say is actually they're going through the FBI and whatever, and everybody, they're starting to interview all the guardsmen. Now, listen, there's 25,000 troops here. My wife is the CEO and president of the USO Metro. She's been down to at the old armory right across from RFK.
Oh, wow.
And she's down there this morning. And I mean, it's wall to wall. I saw a photograph someplace of they've got, I don't know what these things are, but they look like tanks, but they're on wheels. I don't think they have cannons on them, but I'm telling you, it says military police. And in the photograph I saw, there was 7 of these things in a row. I don't know exactly where they were. I'm thinking to myself, what is going on here? I mean, it's almost like we're getting ready for Armageddon. 25,000 troops are in this city, and
it's hard to comprehend.
And if what they say is true, actually less would be more in this. I mean, we're getting into Quentin Tarantino land.
We are getting
right
into
now.
some bizarre movie themes we never thought might have a possibility of come true. But I think there's a lot of bluster. I think there's enough concern, rightfully so, after what took place January 6th in Capitol,
Yeah.
and the unacceptable nature of that's not going to be tolerated by any stretch. Which it's on such lockdown down there. I mean, you cannot move. And they did have an interview with a couple of the National Guardsmen, and they're like, we're really kind of just here for show. And he goes, these guns, we don't have any live ammo. so
Well, what's interesting, though, I saw that this was on CBS Sunday Morning. They interviewed one of the generals down there that's in charge of, I don't know, he might be the guy that's actually with the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I think he is. I'm sorry, I can't remember his name.
Colonel Flagg?
I said general. Colonel Flagg is down
Colonel
there, but
Flagg
nobody knows where he is.
Colonel would be the guy.
Colonel Flagg, you don't know where he is.
He's trained all his life for this moment.
But they got into this, well, what would you use, deadly force? And he goes, well, basically it's and some of them are going to have live rounds now. It's not like they're down there with toy bullets. It's not like when I used to open a Christmas present at Christmas time, got my toy soldiers, my toy gun, had my little toy bullet. Nah, those ain't toys, Todd. Don't believe everything they tell you.
I think some of them, it's for show.
Maybe they find out the guys that are going to be traitors.
The main guys.
The guys that might go the other way, they got rubber bullets. No, actually, there's such a thing as rubber bullets. I shouldn't say that.
Goddamn paintballs hurt, man. You ever play paintball? Paintball was enough for me.
When I meant rubber bullets, I meant the whole thing is rubber.
Yeah,
you can't
it could
fire
do damage.
Yeah, it just, to me, it's, but then again, is it going to be, which I think it will be. I think everything will go fine tomorrow. I think the virus is going to be the biggest thing that's going to, not upset, but nothing's going to be upset, but it's going to be the bigger deterrent than actually, I think, some marchers and all
no
that
question.
Stuff.
We're in winter.
Well, it's going to be on TV. I'm planning on watching some of it anyway, for the most part, because I'm curious to see how it's going to unfold. I don't think there's going to be any people down there, is there?
It's basically all virtual.
Yeah. So
very little of the pomp and circumstance that we're used to seeing, want to see.
Yeah.
And that's all kind of sad.
Yeah, it is. I agree. It's the end of one administration, beginning of another. And, unfortunately, it happens every 4 years. And it's almost, I don't want to say it's a holiday type thing, but there is kind of a festive spirit about it.
It should be a national holiday, don't you think? Of democracy relative. Yeah, well, I mean, businesses aren't closed like MLK Day we just celebrated yesterday.
Yeah, exactly.
But
a couple days before.
So speaking of transfer of powers, So
I transferred some power last night in a frying pan. I pan-seared some tuna, Todd. Got to tell you about it. It was like off the chart.
Magnifico.
What I did was, I saw this in the Wall Street Journal. There was a recipe for the bistro steak, which is the way, if you go to France, I guess, and maybe a lot of restaurants around here, I'm sure it's no big secret, how you prepare a steak without actually having to fire up a grill. In other words, go outside and fire up a grill. What you do is you take a steak, you get a lot of, you get pepper, you pepper it real well, put a little salt on it, and then you throw it in a hot pan, that's really with a little bit of canola oil or some kind of oil that can take high heat. About 2 minutes on each side, then you throw it in an oven and you heat the oven to about 425 degrees. And depending on how you want your steak, if you want it rare, I think it's like 4 minutes in the oven or something like that. If you want it like medium rare, maybe 6 minutes or whatever. So I'm kind of like, that sounds like, and then you take it out and you take some crushed garlic that you have and you put it in you use a, what do you call it? Cast iron skillet, cast iron skillet. You take it out and then you put some butter, preferably European butter because it's got a higher fat content, and you put the crushed garlic in there, and then you start ladling this melted butter over the steak. Oh, let me tell you something. I do a pretty good job with a steak.
Amazing.
Little dude likes this steak better than the steak outdoors.
And this was tuna?
But last night it was tuna, and you know what? It was unbelievable.
That's got my mouth watering, Rigo. That sounds Monday.
Will you eat tuna?
Yeah.
Oh, you do eat tuna.
Well, I don't on a regular basis, but
something like this
I would.
you would
Yes,
like.
I would because done right.
Yeah,
done right.
It was really very good.
All right, John. It's time to welcome in our special guest, J.P. Finley, NBC Sports Washington. A lot of changes, It used to be Home Team Sports, then Comcast, now NBC Sports Washington. He's been the, I almost said Redskins insider. He's the Washington football team insider. He was the Redskins insider. He's been at it for 5 years. Here's JP, Rigo.
Hey, you don't have to answer this question if you don't want to. The J and the P, what are those initials for? I've always wondered.
James Patrick.
James Patrick.
Yeah, I was the third, so my dad was Jim and Jimmy and all that, and they were just running out of options. Simple minds.
I'm glad to hear that.
Well, speaking of options, it's kind of like the Washington quarterback situation.
Yeah, run, pass, and whatever else that comes with it. That's a pretty good place to start. Actually, let's back up just a second. I was kind of looking. I wanted to get your overview of the entire season. We did a little bit last week, and I thought about it a little bit more, and I looked at it. It's so interesting how Washington played a lot of teams this year where they had a quarterback that was injured or they were in flux at that position, and the whole time the Washington football team was in flux at that position. And the reason I mention that is to get your idea of, what's to come, it would seem to me that really all bets are off when you look at this football team. And, everybody's excited about the fact they made the playoffs, but it's kind of one of those weird, but I don't really feel like I saw anything that really made a statement for the future as of yet. Maybe they call the culture change, but even that's still up in the air because you got to win a few games in the playoffs before you can really say a culture's changed. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Washington showed a ton of growth to go from 3-13 to 7-9. And to go 7-9 while playing 4 different quarterbacks and all the struggles they had to overcome at that position specifically. But I don't think anybody should be confusing them with a great team quite yet. I think they're making the playoffs had a lot more to do with Dallas and Philly kind of falling apart than it did Washington's greatness. I certainly think the quarterback position, you said all bets are off. I think you're right. There's no scenario that I'll be shocked by. And that includes them coming back with Kyle Allen, Taylor Heineke, and Alex Smith. I mean, if they bring the whole band back together, I won't be shocked. But it could go the complete other way where they make a move to try to acquire a veteran and Alex is either released or retires and they just bring back Kyle Allen as a backup, and kind of anything in between. They could draft somebody. I think right around the Cowboys Thanksgiving game and that Steelers game, I think there was real optimism that Alex could be your option in 2021. I think this calf injury, bone bruise thing is a bit of a reality check for at least for the Washington football team. He's going to be 37 in the spring, and he's had significant injury history, and you do have a good young defense. I think that is legit, and I think that can improve significantly, especially with if you can get a really good middle linebacker in there. And I think you need better and more consistent quarterback play if you're going to try to make a run at something.
Well, clearly, yeah, and I don't know which way to go now because you bring up the defense, but maybe we ought to finish our discussions on the quarterback. I'd like to get your opinion on what you saw, or just exactly how impressed you were with Taylor Heinicke and his performance, because my honest opinion is, had Alex Smith played that game, it's hard to tell how many touchdowns New Orleans would have scored, or not New Orleans, Tampa Bay, based on the fact that Heinicke was able to get out of a lot of trouble and make plays. And Alex Smith was, he was basically had a ball and chain wherever he went. There was no way he was going to get, actually could have very easily gotten hurt and seriously hurt. I just thought Taylor Heinicke made the whole weekend of, the Super Wildcard weekend with the fact that he showed up and played the way he did.
It was fun to watch. It was exciting. It was an out of nowhere kind of Cinderella story. I said this on air, 100% of Taylor Heinicke was absolutely a better option than, what do you think they were getting out of Alex? 65%, whatever it was he could do. And not that everything comes back to betting lines, but that line swung from Tampa -8 to Tampa -10 once it became official that Heinicke was starting. I liked, and I don't know if I can say this, I actually hypothetically bet on them. I liked them a lot, +10 with Heinicke, just because I thought he would scramble around and run around, and we saw enough from Carolina that he would keep them in this game. If it was Alex out there +8, I wouldn't have recommended that, because I just don't think the offense would have been able to function considering what we saw, what Alex put on the field in Philly. And even before that in San Fran, when the injury first popped up and he tried to play through it, that guy wasn't going to be able to move the football against that Bucs front. And the problem with Heinicke kind of thinking long-term is he gets hurt. He's played in 3 games, 3 NFL games. He's gotten hurt in all of them. And that's over 3 different years and 3 different ball clubs. So I don't think you can consider him your long-term option, even though the performance against the Bucs, to me, dictates he deserves a chance.
That's interesting because after you watch that, it's a playoff game for crying out loud. And this guy, I'm thinking to myself, was he in the zone? And it's like a type of day that you have and you look back on and go, how did I ever do that? And could never get there again. But you brought up something I never heard before, that he is injury prone, which is a big knock against a player, particularly at that position. So you would think that he's probably going to figure in the mix, at least, for a backup position, perhaps. Who knows? Maybe he emerges as starter, but if you're scared that he's not going to be there week to week, you got to think about something else. But let's go back to Alex Smith. He's got to be hanging it up at this point in his career. I'm thinking personally that the leg, with all the trauma that it went through for 2 years, and, then playing on it and week in and week out after a while, I think it just wore out on it. I think, it's like a car that's rusted out. It's like, okay, what are we going to do here? Keep, putting more money into this car? I just think it's maybe not a great analogy, but I would have to think that Alex Smith's days as a quarterback in the NFL are over with.
It's tough because I don't know if you saw the interview he did with 60 Minutes, but he doesn't sound like he's hanging it up. And, he told myself and other reporters over the last couple months that when the season ends, he wants to take some time, talk with his family, talk with his wife, and kind of see where things go. But I'm with you, John. I don't see, especially now that they've clarified the injury wasn't a calf thing, it was a bone bruise. Isn't that the bone that was broken and surgically repaired and has a titanium rod in there? And when I say reality check, I think you had this almost mythical comeback for a guy that almost lost his leg and came back and really, for a few weeks, was playing at a really high level. That Cowboys game, even the losses when he came back to the Lions, throwing for 400 yards, he was surgical in that upset win over Pittsburgh. He was really good. And then this calf bone bruise thing happens, and the mobility was already limited, even when he was playing well coming back. But once that hit, there was no mobility. And can he protect himself? Can he face a pass rush? And those are tough, real questions.
I think it's time for Ferdy Pacheco and the white towel, personally. I mean, in other words, this is
how about Burgess Meredith?
This isn't his decision. Burgess Meredith,
but
the Penguin.
JP, we know you're tight on time here, and I know the hot and heavy story that you're going to be all over is who's going to be the GM, and is it going to be Marty Herney? And can we expect that announcement possibly today? Any news that you'd like to break here on TJRS?
No news at this moment. I spoke with somebody last night that said it'll happen on Tuesday. I texted with somebody Tuesday morning that said finalizing details now. So I expect this. I think we will be signed, sealed, delivered, press conference, holding up jerseys with the new GM by the end of this week. I really do.
How many National Guardsmen are on standby out at the park when they make this announcement? Just in case people don't like this opinion.
People aren't thrilled. I don't know if you've seen that reaction.
It's Marty Herney, correct?
Yes, that is the plan. You know him, right, John? Or do you know him?
Marty, I forget which paper he used to write for, but he used to interview.
Time.
Who? Richmond?
Washington.
Oh, it was the Washington Times? That's who he's written? I'll be darned. Yeah, and then from that, I think, we're talking about this. I think Bobby Beathard and him must become friendly. He took him to San Diego, and somehow he ended up in Carolina. I don't know the complete path of Marty. Great guy, and obviously survived. I mean, he was down in Carolina for quite some time, probably a good 10 years, I'll bet.
20. He was there.
Is that right?
He was.
Started the
franchise?
He's
been fired twice by Carolina. He was there. He was there with John Fox. He hired Ron Rivera in 2011. Then they got rid of him, brought Gettleman in, got rid of Gettleman, brought Marty back, who was on, I think he did talk radio down in Charlotte. They brought Marty back, and then the new owner just fired him again, and now he's back in Washington.
Well, JP, do you have any general manager aspirations? See, dreams can come true.
We're looking for a good general manager for the John Riggins show. Actually, Marty must be, related to the Cat family somehow, because he's burned 3 lives so far. He's going for a 4th. Good for Marty.
Well, JP, we appreciate you joining us here on the John Riggins Show, and we'll be looking for your coverage this week with the big announcement. It looks like it's going to happen. Those are the prevailing. He's the clubhouse leader, as we like to say, Riggo.
Yes, he is. James Patrick, it's always good to talk to you, and maybe we'll bump into each other in a grocery store here not so far down the road. Good to talk to you. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you very much. Clubhouse leader by about 10 strokes, I'd say.
Yeah, Tiger Woods-esque. All right, Riggo. It's a good Sunday of football.
Weekend.
And Saturday. It was a really good
You're going to
weekend.
get into the postseason, Todd. You're still in preseason. You're still in regular season. Who knows? You could be in preseason.
It does seem, after the previous weekend of watching 6 games over 2 days.
6 games. Jesus, that was brutal. I'm going to tell you something. 4 games was a little rough for me.
Yeah.
It's getting to that point where actually, I think I ought to do it a Saturday-Sunday deal instead of double header on Sunday.
Yeah.
The championship games.
Interesting.
I would rather just have one game, something to look forward to that, late afternoon or, like a 6 o'clock game on Saturday, 6 o'clock game on Saturday. I guess maybe, although that wouldn't, no, these are the championship games. That doesn't give anybody, because hell, the Super Bowl isn't for 2 weeks. That's what they ought to, I'm surprised they haven't thought about that.
Yeah, because it's going to be prime time, the number 1 broadcast that evening, no matter what. They get it all day Sunday, where people are locked in on their TV for 8 hours.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, maybe you'd know, because you're the TV radio guy, from a rating standpoint. Once they get you in front of a TV, they figure they can hold you there for like 8 hours.
Oh, yeah, and the NFL being the most powerful by miles.
So they've no doubt thought about that and went, no, we'll double header it on Sunday.
Yeah.
We're not going to do a game Saturday.
Because it's Sunday. It's the only sport that has its own day.
Well, and the other part of it, too, you might think of, on a Saturday, people got stuff they want to do, so you might actually lose a few people. On Sunday, people are going
Well, if you still had if you had Saturday night at 8 o'clock and you had Sunday at 7 o'clock prime time, doesn't matter. America's going to tune into those two games.
So
I like that idea. I like that idea.
So it would work. Yeah, I'm telling
absolutely.
you. 2 games in one day is a little bit too. Maybe I'm showing my age. I don't know. But.
Okay, so what was the game you enjoyed the most?
You know what? I got you. It's because you've seen so many. You see 4 games. Let me say this: enjoyed. I don't know if I'd say I enjoyed it, but the game I was most shocked by. Well, maybe that would go into it as well. Was actually the game I enjoyed the most, probably Kansas City, Cleveland, and the game I was most shocked by was Green Bay Rams.
Right.
Jesus, the Rams defense.
Yeah.
Where did they go?
They went from world killers,
Dang.
dominant. We're talking them up.
I completely whiffed. By the way,
I did too, but
from now on, if you think, as I give my predictions, always use me as a reverse barometer. Never.
Riggo, he'll probably make you some money.
Never, ever.
Go against the grain.
But I just thought that defense was so suffocating against Seattle. And what they did with Russell Wilson, I'm going, oh, they got this. That's going to be a long day for Green Bay.
But Green Bay's offense, Aaron Rodgers, is that good.
And his receivers are that good. That's
Yes.
what's interesting.
Yes.
And they play in Green Bay, so and they were the Rams. They were going up there. When you think about it, and you was hearing number 12 talk about it from the Tampa Bay Bucks at the end of the day there about how his blood had thinned out being down in Tampa all this time. I don't know if that's true or not, but clearly there's a guy that's used to playing in that kind of weather, which is, he mentally anyway, he knows maybe his blood's a little thinner and he'll just have to wear some, electric mittens and electric socks. I don't know. When he comes off the field.
TB12 will have something special.
Yeah. But that's a game to look forward to. But let's go back through these games one at a time. I think the first game, what was it? Was a Buffalo and
Yep.
What do you call it? Baltimore. Here, let me say this: I'm more convinced than ever that you need to be able to pass the football to play and win big, i.e., championships, i.e., deep in the playoffs. I think basically that Lamar Jackson is a fascinating quarterback to watch, but he is RG3, 2.0
or 3.0. He's the latest iteration of an incredibly athletic quarterback who's made his living in high school, in college, and early in the pros. But then at the end of the day, when it's go time and when it's show time.
Well, when you run into that defensive coordinator that gets it all figured out,
right,
and goes, okay, here's what we're going to do, and they always, what's their plan? Okay, beat us with your arm. It started with Michael Vick. Force him to beat you with his arm. Now, there's some guys. Russell Wilson can beat you with his arm.
Right.
There are some guys out there that are that athletic and move around. Well, and not nearly at that extent, but the very guy you just mentioned with Green Bay.
Aaron Rodgers.
I mean, he's not going to scramble. Well, he'll scramble and get a first down, but he's not going to run 50 yards for a touchdown. Go ahead.
Well, the point, and you told this years to me. When I asked you about him, you said the rabbit always gets caught in the NFL. For a quarterback, that is a rabbit. That is a run-first mentality because they've always been able to get by and beat him in the legs. And so when that split second of hesitation and going back to pass, but in the back of your mind, you're going, well, I can get out of this. That's all the time difference it makes in the NFL where they can't get rid of the ball. They don't make the throws. They don't read it the same way. They pass first guy, run when needed and necessary. Mm-hmm. And every single time, anybody that's been a run first quarterback is not. They're not winning championships, and they get
They're
figured
exciting.
out.
They're exciting.
No question.
And they're going to win some games and make some plays. You go, man, how did he do that? That clearly.
And he had 3 or 4 of those at the end of the year. Everybody just shook their head and said, "We can't defend that."
Yeah, and you can't. But like I said, that isn't what wins. Or at least I'm convinced that that's not what wins. Consistency is what wins. You got to go out there and just lay it down time after time again. As great as Barry Sanders was, you couldn't count on that big breakaway run game after game after game.
Sure.
Of course, he needed some other help there. It's like that. Your philosophy's got to be just more. It's a little bit more conservative, but you got to get so much every play. So much. It's like how the guys in Las Vegas make a living. They get the VIG. It's all about the VIG. They know what they're getting on everything. It's not like we're betting on the game because we think this is going. That didn't work in that way. But yeah, I thought to myself that what you were just talking about, that the rabbit does get caught. And in this situation, I don't know if to me, I'm looking at the Baltimore Ravens. I'm going, well, as long as he's going to be your quarterback, you're only going to go so far. Unless, and I don't think that'll happen because I've always felt this way. A guy like Tom Brady, who always knew that, he is the newborn colt if he has to run. He can't hardly stand up. I mean, he's not that bad. I'm exaggerating, embellishing. But what happens is a guy that has that ability to get out of trouble with his feet, he robs himself because, you were saying it, because instead of waiting that last 200ths of a second and watching that, and plus, there's a confidence thing here. If you know you can get the first down running, do I really want to throw the ball and maybe throw an interception? They can't. They won't break through that wall to go, hell yes, I can.
It's their own personal trust.
There's a little bit of doubt in their mind, and particularly when you got that kind of talent with your legs. You pat, and guess what? You never develop the real talent that'll make you a power and make you feared, and that's throwing your arm. It's not your legs. You got to throw the arm. Football.
Right.
So,
and the pass first, run second guys, the Russell Wilsons, the Kyler Murrays,
yeah.
Daniel Jones, and some of the other young quarterbacks. That's where the game is at right now. And as exciting as Lamar Jackson is, it's kind of like inevitable. Somebody's going to figure it out and shut him down. And they got their one playoff win this year and saying, the monkey's off his back. I think it's right back on in a humongous way.
Based on the way they lost.
Yeah, they pooped their pants.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that, you unfortunately, you've got so many fans that are going, oh, no, he's great. We need him. I'm curious to know what Harbaugh would really think about this, because he's got to know. Am I saddled with this guy for the next 8 years or so or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, from league MVP.
And we're never going to win a championship. I just don't see it. I don't. I could be. I'm not an offensive coordinator. I'm not a general manager either. So, but my opinion tells me, I just don't think that he'll ever rise to that occasion unless he learns how to pass the football. But in order to do that, he's going to have to stop running, and I don't think he's going to do that. He's not going to give that up. But you mentioned something here that I wanted to touch on too. Look around the league. There's a changing of the guard going on right now, and I think people are starting to recognize it at the quarterback position. I think over the weekend I saw 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks both get old in the same game. So regardless of how long they want to play, one plays for Washington. I'm talking about over the weekend in the playoffs, but Alex Smith with Washington. I think that. But you see all these young guys that are coming up the pike here. Really, I mean, you look around. I wrote some teams. You got San Diego, the kid in San Diego. You got the kid in Buffalo, Allen. I'm telling you, that guy is the real deal.
Moxie.
He is going to be, and he's another guy that can run when he has to. Big guy, 6'5", 240 pounds.
The guys are not fond of hitting him.
Yeah. Cleveland, Mayfield, I thought he played excellent. I mean, you could make the argument some plays go the other way, Cleveland may be playing in the championship game. I honestly believe that. With Mahomes in the game before he gets knocked out. They didn't need Mahomes. They were giving them all they wanted with Mahomes in the game, and
Cleveland
they gave up
was impressive.
First, throw an interception right after the half starts. And then the fumble down on the goal line for a touchdown. It's like, well, you're playing Kansas City in Kansas City, and Mahomes is a pretty good quarterback. You do that stuff, and it's fatal, guys. Yeah. And yet they still had a chance to win that football game. I was very impressed with him. So I'm just saying, mention him. And, of course, Kansas City with Mahomes, and New York, Daniel Jones. I mean, there's a bunch of these. Miami, the kid from Alabama, Tua.
Yep.
I'll just call him Tua.
Let's go with that. Jury's very much out on him. He was very cold at the end, to the point that there's big concern there.
But you got Stafford in Detroit, and you got Ryan down in Atlanta. I mean, these are guys that have been around a while, and there's new kids. Well, Burrows, we didn't mention Burrows.
Joe Burrow.
And what do you call it? Excuse me, Cincinnati. So there's a lot of good things happening quarterback-wise, and obviously that position drives the whole thing.
It does. It does more so than ever, which is so. Looking ahead into on Sunday's games, and
well, let's just for a second, real quick synopsis here. Like I said, with Buffalo, we covered that. I didn't get to the point to talk about how well Allen played, and just what you said. I think that's a bright spot. Rams, Green Bay. Yeah, I guess we have kind of done this a little bit. The defense just big give up there. We didn't touch on the one game we didn't touch on was Tampa and New Orleans, and I personally thought they were playing at home. I thought New Orleans would win that game, but clearly Drew Brees and possibly his final game made way too many mistakes in that game, and really, he made mistakes that you look at it and you go, "You've played in the league how long?
Yeah.
How many passes you thrown?
Yeah.
Just it was stunning. I think it was almost like panic set in. He started forcing stuff.
I think, John,
and Brady got away with some stuff.
We discussed his devastating injury where he missed, 5, 6, 7 games, 11 broken ribs and a punctured lung. And I've watched him the 2 games coming back. The first game that he came back, he had no business being out there. He was short arm. You could tell that. I didn't understand the complexity of his injury at the time, but he was a mess. He got better every week, and then Taysom Hill got dinged up, so he wasn't even dressed for the game.
Right?
But yeah, it was a tough way to see him go out. But also, Tampa Bay's defense, I think, is pretty robust as well, and they came to play.
We're going to see that this week.
Yes.
Just how robust they are.
And see if they go away the Rams, or are they good for it?
Are they going to be who they think they are? Yeah, particularly you got a cold weather team playing a warm weather team at the cold weather team's place, and it's not Detroit where you have a dome. So you're going to be outside at Lambeau Field, and that should be an interesting game.
Yeah, it's supposed to be in the 20s with the chance of 1 to 3 inches of snow, or the early report.
And you know what? That's like romance for me.
Right.
And let me say this. I never wanted to play in those games. That, boy, takes me back to childhood and watching them, and I just loved it.
And watch,
And we'd go out and play in the snow, and it was great. But see, you didn't have to play 60 minutes. You'd come back in, have some hot chocolate.
A little tingly.
Yeah,
right.
Have a little hot chocolate. Put a little schnapps in it, whatever.
So what do you think the early lines on the game? And I don't think you're going to see much action except with the notion of
Kansas City's the big question mark.
Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes. And I got to tell you, you don't see too many guys get hit the way they do with the reaction and the awful reaction he had, that he did not know where he was.
He didn't, but Todd, you play that thing back, and I got to say, he hit his head on the turf. But if that's all it takes to put him down, it's like he's got a glass jaw.
Well, they're saying now, and that it wasn't necessarily a concussion, and that it was a nerve in the neck that he got stung. So
that
you see the machinations, I believe, of the protocol, so that they could kind of bypass.
Well,
so you think he got? So there's that one nerve that apparently, if you get hit with the punch, it's the sleeper punch. You ever seen those videos?
I never thought of that. What you're telling, there are a couple things playing there. It was. Was it a play where he just got roughed up and just wanted to come out of the game for a play, and then all of a sudden, they got, because it is Patrick Mahomes, $1 billion man, first $500 million quarterback to ever play in the NFL, that that they decide we got to really take a look at this. I don't know, but from what I saw, he hits his head. I mean, he gets around the neck. He gets chokehold kind of, and then goes down, gets his neck stretched around this and that, and then his helmet hits the turf.
Yeah.
But it didn't seem to me like he hit it with the kind of velocity that you would go. I don't know where, but like you said, he definitely looked like he'd been dinged. He had rubber legs when he got up.
Oh, yeah.
He almost went back down.
Yeah, it was not a good. You just don't see it. Even with hits where they are throwing guys out and guys are getting hit to the head, it's rare you see guys on Queer Street, as they like to say, because he was gone.
You know what's interesting, though? 15, 20 years ago, Get back in there, kid.
Oh, you
Take a
kidding?
play off.
Yeah. Are you kidding? Yeah, so a little smelling salt maybe, and yeah, come on, what are we doing?
That's where you just go. Well, and that's where, like you said, now, are they playing nice by saying it's a nerve? And now maybe
Mr.
it's
Mahomes
not a
will be
concussion.
playing. It will not be Chad. Is it Chad Henning, I believe, that came in from mop
Yeah,
up duty?
Chad Henne.
Yeah. All right.
I
So
don't know if I take that.
Tampa at Lambeau Field at 3:05 on Sunday. What do you think the line is?
I'm going to say, by the way, you never did say what the line is on the prior game. There's not one out yet?
Oh, that's the second game. We're going to do that.
Okay.
That's the second
Oh,
game.
okay,
I'm
okay,
kinda
okay.
going
I'm going to guess right now, I'm going to go, it's Green Bay -3.
Nailed it. Green Bay -3. That's some.
I'm missing
I
my
mean,
work.
you are. You've come a long way.
And look at all the work they put into it. I just got
Yeah.
caught
All
my
right.
head. It's like
Buffalo
Jed Clampett
Bills
picking racehorses.
at 6:40.
Huh?
Buffalo Bills at 6:40
And they're
against the
playing
Kansas
Chiefs
City Chiefs at Arrowhead
With unknown
Stadium.
quarterback, though.
Yeah, it's
But
Patrick
there-
Mahomes.
But there's still a line. But will he be the Patrick Mahomes that everybody loves and cheers for? I'll tell you what. This would be what I think Buffalo's a sneaky game. I think is a sneaky good team. I think they had a poor opening round in the playoffs against Indianapolis. But I think they've righted themselves and they're playing pretty good football and it'll be pretty interesting. I'm going to go Kansas City -4.
-3. -3. So it's kind of what you would expect at this time of year, home field, whatever.
What would happen to Chad Henne? Would it go back? Would it go the other way?
Oh yeah, I think it would go to. I
Buffalo
could see.
would be
I could see
favored?
Buffalo being favored by 1 or 2, maybe
ask
even
you this.
3.
Let's just say I go to the window today and I bet my mind. I
You get what the line is printed right now. That's whatever you get. That's why some guys.
Oh, so in other words, if they change the quarterback,
doesn't matter.
oh, so then I got to go back to the window and
No.
double down
Well, but it's
because
gonna
now all of a
move.
sudden I don't feel good about
That's why
this.
a
bet.
lot of the made guys and the guys that know what they're doing, they bet on the early lines on Monday too. They're looking for weakness in the line, and that's why they're calling and getting the injury reports to see exactly what's going on. But yeah, a lot of sharps, they get that opening number. If there's an opening number they like and say, okay, yeah, I'm getting in on early on the action. Sometimes there's a little bit of a
So and actually, and that's where
you do your homework.
You got to know what you're
you can
doing.
find value.
But because I guess then, based on the way the bets come in during the week, it starts to tell you exactly what the public thinks. Not that the public knows, but
That's
you're getting
just
more,
it.
it's just more information you're getting.
Exactly. So if it starts going large in one direction, then they'll slide the line the other way because they want the money to be as close as possible so they can.
Yeah.
But
what they
exciting
do.
time of year. And on Friday's show, Riggo, we're going to go back down memory lane for. We did the Minnesota game.
Are we going to do Cowboys?
We're going to do the Cowboys
that makes
game,
sense.
and you got one of your teammates going to join us, big guy Joe Jacoby. Jake's going to join us from North Carolina,
All right.
and have some fun talking about. Geez, so that's 1983. So that's 38 years ago.
Sounds about right.
My math
yeah,
right
that's
on that?
right. 38.
Wow, rocking good times. So check back in with us on Friday right here on the John Riggins Show.
I got nothing left, Todd. Riggo out.